Hey everyone, today I'm looking at my first reverse motherboard. This is the MSI Z790 Project Zero. Just to quickly mention, MSI also have the B650 for AM5 and also the B760 for Intel. They're both M-ATX as well, so if you want something a bit of a smaller form factor or you want to go for AM5, there are options for that. So this is currently retailing for $279, so it is a bit more expensive, but you do have to remember there's a lot of time and attention been put into the fact of rotating these connectors to the back. It's not as simple as just taking it off, swapping it around, because all the traces will be reversed, so they've had to re-engineer the whole board to be able to do this, but I'm very excited to actually have a look at one. Let's just have a quick look around the box. Just nothing really to talk about on the front. We have got some Gen 5 for our PCIe lanes. And then on the back, if you want to have a pause and just read that, you can do. Also quickly worth mentioning that there's a lot more BTF boards available on the market now. When this was first announced, obviously it was one case. Well, I think Corsair had one. Thermaltake now have them. There's some more from Corsair. There's a few, and I will try and get some of those cases in to look at as well if you're wondering about matching them up. So opening this up, we have the board straight away like we'd usually see, but there is now some protection on the back of the board, obviously for the connectors that are on there. So I'm going to very carefully just take this out and put it to the side to see what else we've got included. You can see all the gaps that they've put in there to make sure it sits, it doesn't get damaged, which is very good. So we've got like a little porthole for this. We've got a couple of SATA cables there, one of which is right angled. We've got our Wi-Fi antennas. It does support Wi-Fi 7 as well, so we have got the latest standard. Another M.2 quick release, and then we've got some documentation and quick start guides and things like that. Is that actually what I think it is? It is. We've still got a disc. Wow, I was talking to someone the other day about driver discs, so it's strange to see one. I thought we'd gotten over using those, but apparently they're still included in them. So there we go. Very strange to be opening a board without any connectors on the front. Here we go. Wow, I think this is a really nice looking board as well. Obviously, being that you've not got all the connectors on, you can add some more armor. It's kind of pretty close to what you'd see on like the NZXT boards, be it they're matte and plastic, but just the armor does make me think of those boards. Super chunky VRM, so no worries about powering some of the higher end SKUs. This also has a 14+1+1 duet rail power system. I'm sure you could go for a 14900K in this board without any quibbles. This is certainly very beefy, and I'm sure we'll handle it without any problems. So I'd usually go, let's start in the top left, but obviously this is going to be a little bit different. So let's first cover our connectors that we've got on the back of the board. Let's have a little look around. So we've got two 8-pin EPS connectors up here. So the fact we've got two means it's going to be for a higher end SKU anyway. Generally, if it's for a lower end CPU, you'd see a 4 and then an 8. So they're certainly aiming towards the higher end SKUs anyway. We've got an addressable 5V for RGB. We've got three 4-pin headers and then an additional two a bit further round. There's also a 12V standard RGB header. We've got our 24-pin motherboard, then our USB connector. This is USB 3.2 Gen 1. And we've got our USB Type-C, so that's USB 3.2 Gen 2x2, so 20 gigabits per second. We've got 4 SATA ports. There's also an additional 2 at the bottom of the board, so if you want to do any internal hard drives or SSDs. We've got our front panel connections here. It's really throwing me off the fact we've got the front panel on the left-hand side of the board over the bottom right. It's going to take some time to get used to that, that's for sure. Additional system fan, then below that we've got 2 USB 2 headers. So great for anything that requires some hubs. There's a USB 3 header. That again is USB 3.2 Gen 1. There's 2 more 4-pin headers. So that's a total of 8 4-pin headers on this board. Then we've got another 5V addressable RGB, another standard 12V, and then we've got the front panel audio. So a plethora of headers on that board, just in all different places. That would take some time to get used to. So let's go back to the socket. We've got support, of course, for 12th, 30th and 40th gen CPUs in the LGA 1700 socket. On the right, we've got the DIMM slots. This will support up to 256 gigabytes of DDR5 at 7800 megatransfers per second. That's on XMP. You can push it manually if you'd like to. So now we've got our slots and things. Let's talk about these. Let's take off that little sticker. So there's one screw that I've had to remove, and then we've got one that's captive. That's up to a 110mm Gen 5 drive in this motherboard. And then we have got a thermal pad on the back for some heat dissipation. Not the thickest of metal, so I'd say that if you are going to use a really fast drive, that use the heatsink that comes with included, generally a bit more beefy. Then below that we've got a Gen 5 PCIe lane. This is a armoured slot as well. I've got another M.2 slot below that. Let's have a look at this one. So taking that one off, we've got up to a 60mm slot there for another Gen 4 drive. Thermal pad on the back, and then another one at the bottom. So again, the screw you remove on the right, captive one on the left. Then you've got thermal pads on the back of there and support for another 2 drives up to 80mm in length. So you can support a maximum of 4 drives, 1 Gen 5 up to 110mm, and then 3 Gen 4 up to 80mm. There's 2 more PCIe X16 slots. You've got one here, which is a Gen 4, the one below is Gen 3, then you've got a X1 slot there as well. Now, although we haven't got SLI or Crossfire or anything like that nowadays, you can still use these for capture cards and sound cards and things like that. So putting this onto the side to look at the rear I/O. First of all, we've got a BIOS flash button, a very handy button to have. There's a PS2 port, old but yet very reliable, especially if you're going to do any overclocking. We've got 4 USB 2 ports. We've got a display port 1.4 and an HDMI 2.1. Very handy to have for troubleshooting, especially with the K-series processor. We've got the 2 blue USB ports. These are USB 3.2 Gen 1, so 5 gigabits per second. And we've got that red one there, which is a USB 3.2 Gen 2, so 10 gig. We've got 2.5 gig LAN. Type-C port, this is USB 3.2 Gen 2x2, so 20 gigabits per second. Wi-Fi antennas, also got Bluetooth built in as well, and you've got some audio options at the bottom. So that was a look at the MSI Z790 Project Zero. Really glad to finally be able to look at one. Big thank you to MSI, of course, for sending this out for me to look at. Let me know your thoughts about it down below. I would like to see some black themed back to front boards. We've not really seen many that far. There is the Asus tough ones, but they are, I think, B760 and M-ATX as well, not full size ATX, but I'm sure they'll come out in time. Of course, this is a fairly new thing anyway. So let me know what you think about it down in the comments box below. I'll also put the links in the description if you want to pick one up. Big thank you again to MSI for sending it out for me to look at. Get subscribed and ding the bell so you don't miss the builds when they come up. They'll be very soon. I've got things already in the works. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.